for us. There we go. We are recording. I've been putting together these trainings for our Midlands Gives 2023. Just wanted to welcome you all. This is actually our fourth and final training. So have some of y'all been to some of the other ones? I think I see some familiar faces. So thank y'all so much for coming out. Our big day, of course, is May 2nd, 2023. So we're actually getting very close. Early giving starts in just a couple weeks. Early giving starts April 1st. So before that date, on May 31st, an important deadline is you will have to have your profile finalized by that day, by March 31st, before early giving starts on April 1st. So we will talk a little bit about your profile today, right? Yes. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then you have a few more days still to get that cleaned up, maybe look at some of the other profiles and get some good ideas. We also have an interview interest form on our website as well. That is due this Sunday on March 26th. And that is if you would like to be interviewed by media, by our YouTube Live. Are we on Facebook Live this year? Facebook and YouTube Live interviews. Gives you a chance to kind of talk about what you do, get your name out there a little bit more. And so it helps us to know that you actually do want to be interviewed. So that is a form out there as well that is due soon. Any other housekeeping here? We have restrooms that are through this door or around there, but they're right around here. We do have some lovely whoopie pies in here for the folks that are here in-house that are from Love a Cup Bakery over in West Columbia. So I encourage you to try those. Have some sodas and coffee and everything too. And am I missing anything? I think that's everything. Okay. Well, I'm going to let our wonderful advancement team take it away. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So thank y'all so much for being here, and I look forward to it.
For inviting us. I'm Michelle Hardy with the advancement team. I'll let my colleagues here introduce themselves, but just a little bit about, and just a smidge about ourselves. We all have different backgrounds, and but all have worked with donors and in particular fund holders here at the foundation. But I've been with philanthropy and some sort of development since 2001, so 22 years. My name again is Michelle Hardy.
Good morning. I am Vala Thomas, one of the advancement, I always get confused, advancement associates here with Central Carolina. Mainly what I do is process the grants from our fund holders.
I'm Mimi Slade. I'm one of the advancement officers, and I just work to support our fund holders in their activities through their funds.
And I'm Courtney Bailey. I'm also one of our advancement officers, and I also work to support our fund holders with their funds.
And overall, what we do with the advancement on our team is we help, we try to help people create funds. I don't know if there's a way to make the ding come off. I don't know. But I'm like squirrel, or something like that. But it's not, we'll work with it. So what we try to do is help make it very easy to give. So when people want to utilize the community foundation for their giving, it helps them organize their giving and creating funds, and we help administer through Fallon and others giving through to the community through their fund, and we help grow the fund so there's more philanthropic dollars to give out. So we work with different donors and their advisors to try to help people use the assets that allow them to give the largest amounts to philanthropy that they can possibly have. We had the pleasure of working with very philanthropic people, but please know that we work with people of all types of assets. So you can create funds here at the foundation as little as $10,000. And of course, you will always hear and think of multi-million dollars. That's really not what most community foundations are about. Most community foundations are much more modest size funds, so, and they together make the big pool of assets that people give through. So we're delighted to be here today. And we're going to talk about building and strengthening donor relations. and why that's important and all the things. So I'm going to kick it off here. We're all going to have little parts so you don't have to have one person talking the whole time because we know how exciting that can be. But Fallon is gonna introduce our first topic, and we're very excited to have her do that. And we're open to having questions answered on the spot, so you don't have to be, I mean, you might take a breath and then get you in a page or something, but feel free to kind of indicate that you have a question. I believe that if there anything, we want to do one quick plug before we start. And I believe that maybe Chantrell might have this in our, we highly in our repertoire of items here. We have this, the mini investment team has created this wonderful strategy workbook for Midlands Gives. I know that there's lots of resources that people can use, but this actually has a lot of good media information, and it's got a great, and you can jump to this page or that. We're going to reference a few things in there. I think it's worth having and skimming through, and maybe on Midlands Gives or the day before, or as you're working through preparing for it, just to have it out and to seek its content, because I think people put in a lot of thought to create it, and it's very good. So I always think it's easier to edit than to create. So shameless plug for this. We did not create it, but we're delighted to promote it. So and we'll refer to it a time or two in our presentation.
Thank you, Michelle. I did forget to mention that. That is located on our Midlands Gives website. It's under the nonprofit tab, and then there's Resource Hub, and then both the 10-week checklist that everybody has, as well as the accompanying strategy workbook is linked there. And I believe Chantrell is going to be linking it for all of our folks who are joining us online today too. Thank you, Scott.
Awesome. Well, with that, I'm going to jump right in. Our first thing we're going to review is just discussing how to attract new donors. I'm sure everyone has probably gotten their feet wet if you're here with attracting new donors, but we want to revisit some of those just tried and true steps. The first thing is you want to make small, attainable goals, and use your list of donors, your folks that you who have given before. You want to keep that communication open, communicating with them regularly, monthly, through a newsletter, a postcard. You have an opportunity to host certain events. Definitely want to keep those doors of communication open to make sure that you love them and they feel good about it, and that you understand what their interests are as well in connection to your organization. And you also want to utilize your network. That can be, again, from past donors and current active donors, as well as your past and active board members. You want to make sure that you are giving them opportunities to stay in the loop of what you have going on, and not just going for the big gifts, but those smaller gifts add up, just as Michelle mentioned earlier. And so you want to just have opportunities for them to know that you see them, to appreciate them. You know that that they'll know where their dollars are going in your organization. So sharing those stories as well. Celebrate your wins with your donors, past and present. And with those smaller gifts, keep those touches. Some people give just to see how it goes. And as they connect more with your organizations, they'll want to give more. So those smaller gifts are not the ones that you just want to say, well, thanks. We'll see you in a year. Keep massaging them, keep loving on them, keep in touch with them, let them know what's going on. And they'll continue to stay connected and committed to their giving, as well as sharing your organization's story within their community and their network, which can lead to more new donors. Okay. Any questions about that? Flip the page. Okay. Another thing that strengthens relationships are those community stories. So with us today, we have Miss Allie Conroy and Miss Edith Bailey from PALS. Yeah, our PALS at PALS. I thought it was so cute and corny. I loved it. And getting those stories, they're able to hear from the people who are boots on the ground, as well as the decision makers for your organization. And it just kind of puts faces with names for where people's dollars are going, and just a little more personable and a better connection with the organizations that they're given to. So I'm going to turn it over to these beautiful ladies for them to share with us.
Well, and I think we're going to need to, for our folks there, so I'm going to just offer my seat real quick, and then there's it right there, and then I'll pop back this one.
And feel free to use the mic if you'd like.
Do we need to? Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
So I'm Allie Pomeroy, and I'm the community development.
I think they want us to actually use the mic, so I didn't understand that. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
It's already on.
I'm Allie Conroy, and I am the community development person at PALS. And this is Edith.
I'm Edith Bailey, and I'm the operations manager. Allie has come on board. This is her first Midlands Gives with us. So I'm really here to give you a little more about what we've done as background. I don't know whether you know about PALS. We are an organization that serves individuals with disabilities, but we do it by training and placing service dogs and assistance dogs with individuals to enrich their lives, to create more independence and improve the quality of life for those people with special needs in our community. So in looking at how to attract donors, it is obvious that there are a lot of people in our community whose lives are touched by individuals with disabilities. There are also an enormous number of people who just love dogs. And so we can engage people initially with puppies. If you put up a video of puppies on Facebook, you will get people who are going to like it. So then it is incumbent on us to educate them about our mission and, if possible, hook them with what we do and how important it is to the community. So our group interfaces with the community in a number of different ways. We have programs that educate the community through summer camps, through after-school programs, through programs where our dogs are placed in various facilities in the community, as well as where they go out and visit various groups. So each of those is an opportunity for us to educate people about something besides our fun, furry friends and the importance of our mission. So our building our donor base has been something that seems really far flung. And so it's important for us to know how we're going to target those groups for different things. So we currently have programs where we have donors who have come to us through Midlands Gives. We've never seen or heard of them until Midlands Gives. They get integrated into our communications through our newsletters, through invitations to programs that we have, a variety of different ways. We also have people who come to us through our community projects and other ways. We have small donors as well as substantial donors who become subscribers on a monthly basis to us. Those people get a specialized communication, which allows them more videos every month of our dogs. We have lots of ways for people to remember people that they care about through naming dogs in our program, and the name donors actually receive quarterly updates on the puppy that they've named. So they get videos, they get phone calls, they get emails about anything cute and sweet and wonderful that their dog has done. Now, the bad news is always when you have to call and say, I'm sorry that your dog is not going to become a service dog. But for that reason, we also have programs that serve individuals in the community who don't need a full service dog. And those people get connected to PALS because they want to adopt a well-trained companion dog. So there's another possible group to target as potential donors. So we have a really broad sort of shotgun, scattershot strategy for getting donors in. And at that point, we start before Midlands Gives, downloading our list of donors from the previous year and from all of our events, and getting our committee who work on Midlands Gives together in February and we start dividing up those lists. Everybody chooses those people to call and connect with personally that they know. When I started 5 years ago, I knew almost no one on the PALS donor list. So I inherited all of the new volunteers and all the new donors that nobody else knew. But over the years, because I've kept that same list and broadened it, I now know people in California, North Carolina, West Virginia, wherever I've called in the 24 to 48 hours before Midlands Gives. And then we call them again the day of Midlands Gives or the day after and thank them for their donation. So we keep in touch with those average donors that way. Our larger donors and donors who give matching funds, those tend to be people that we've contacted more personally by phone. They get a phone call from our executive director or from members of our board. They tend to be people that we have been building a relationship with for some time. Those people who give matching funds, we provide them with a phone call from the executive director, the board member, the person who knows them, and followed up with handwritten notes. There is nothing like the power of a handwritten note, and I'm a firm believer in that. Even though I know most of us are perfectly happy not to have junk mail in our mailbox, a handwritten note is something different. That takes something from the giver. And that's one of the ways that we try to keep our relationship with our donors more personal, how we tend to add with that. At the end of every Midlands Gives, we make notes during our phone calls beforehand and afterwards and add in there any significant information we've learned about the person. They got involved with PALS through this volunteer, or their child was once a camper, whatever. Information that's personal to that individual. And that's information that we use in those phone calls. We ask something personal about the individual so that we're building that relationship constantly. Trying to think, do you have anything else?
Just to kind of piggyback off what Edith was saying, I think donor retention really comes from making those donors feel special. Like you have a relationship, like I like to always refer to them as you're part of our PALS family, making them feel like they're just part of us now. And a big thing is making those phone calls. So we divide up our huge list and assign who's going to call this group and try to give those to people who've connected with those donors. And then whatever platform you use, whether it's Donor Perfect or something else, making sure you're keeping those notes, whatever you spoke about on the phone, so you can refer to those things that will make them feel special when you remember something about them or something about their personal life. And then again, the handwritten thank yous. And I know it can be overwhelming, and obviously Midlands Gives is its own monster to tackle. But even throughout the year, we grab a monthly report and we write thank yous once a month for whoever donated that month. And if you have volunteers, that's a great way to utilize them, have them jump in and help you on that. But I think that's one thing that's kind of separated us from the rest.
We actually have several volunteers who have volunteered to write thank you notes for us, and they typically at least once a week get a list of everyone who's made a donation through our website or through the Midlands Gives platforms. It's just now open year round, or for puppy naming, whatever. And they write a note as quickly as possible after that. Because the goal is to make their gift make them feel like their gift is highly valued, which it is. We're a small organization and we can't do what we do without every single donation and donations of people's time and help. We have an enormous number of volunteers, and what we found is that volunteers may start with us as college students. They may start with us as high school students. Eventually, they not only grow into sometimes PAL staff members, which we have had happen several times now, but they also grow into productive members of our community who continue to educate the community about our purpose. Some of them go out to do presentations for us. Almost all of them begin to donate on their own. And that's important because those people who've had a long-term connection with your organization, whether they've been giving for a long time or not, those are the people who understand your mission or they wouldn't be coming back. And that's really important to attracting and maintaining donors, is making sure they really understand what you do and the importance of it.
So any questions? Well, thanks for having us.
Speaking of a hand, thank you all so much for coming. I'll put this over here. Thank you.
Thank you again. I'm going to tell you what, I have been in this world of philanthropy, like I said, over 20 years, and I would say that's an outstanding example of a lot of the things, doing a lot of things well. I want to say to everybody that if you haven't got the infrastructure in place in that organization, like you said, that you've brought over that 5 years, I have a feeling Edith had a lot to do with that after hearing her speak, just saying, is that you can start with some of the things. Like, you don't have to boil the whole ocean in order to be successful. I imagine Edith and Allie would say that you can start 1 year with, this is what we're going to implement, and next year we're going to try to add this layer. Allow yourself a little grace. Allow yourself to know that you're still doing the work in addition to the development work. That's part of the work. But congratulations on an incredible job. I'm really impressed. I want to revisit on our next slide, if you can share that with us. Returning back to how to strengthen the relationships with current donors. Really, let's just define why. Why do you even want to do that? One, and simply put, it's the right thing to do. Okay. It's it feels good. It gives you meaning in your daily work, frankly. So you will reap more benefits of this, as many as what you're sharing with that donor. Two, retention. It is much easier to retain your current donors or your immediately lapsed donors than it is to try to find a new donor. It is a lot less expensive on a practical side. Because why? They already know a little about you. They obviously gave to you initially. They had some reason to give to you. They must have resonated a little bit, even if it is, I had a friend ask me, or a board member is a friend of me and sent me a letter, and I felt like I would try. It doesn't matter. At some point on some level, they know you. Three, it is key to building a sustainable organization. Let's talk about our own daily budgets. Let's put this on ourselves. Forget the work you do. One advantage of working for an organization is a steady paycheck from which you hopefully have developed some semblance of a budget, right? So it may not be that you've got everything entered in QuickBooks and you enter all your receipts and all the things. Let's live within reality. But you have maybe auto payments that come out and auto things that happen, because in the same way to your organization, these sustainable recurring gifts and recurring donors are really important to building that backbone of covering the basics. And then, because a lot of times you can get things like grant money or programmatic support that is for a new program or a new idea. It's very difficult, as we know, to get those sustainable dollars that pay for just the executive director's salary. And you have to have the people. We know at the foundation that a lot of the work is truly you all doing the work. So those recurring gifts, those retention and building a sustainable organization is key for building that backbone on which you can seek additional grant funding or specific programmatic funding that fits within someone's personal heart that makes them interested in supporting, for instance, one segment of PAL's mission, you know. The other fun fact is there's a lot of data out there, and it's been out there for a while now, but basically if you can build monthly or quarterly giving, which we offer through our Midlands Gives platform, that you can do recurring giving, which I would highly recommend promoting. Highly recommend promoting, because it's the data shows that if someone gives 3 years of some interval of recurring giving, and I mean like quarterly or monthly type of thing, it's worked into their budget. You've had a great opportunity to steward them, provide them information so they understand and they can feel a part of the mission, because they are as donors, right? It shows, the data shows that basically they don't leave you. So think about it in a perspective of, like, if you start Netflix, you probably don't leave it very often. You know, fun fact, though, I might be the only human that doesn't actually have Netflix, but there's a lot of things that I give to personally that, thank goodness, because I can't even tell you where my checkbook is. You know what I mean? So, like, let's just use what's available now and how easy it is and utilize the platform for recurring giving. Promote that in your request this year. It helps people give a more substantial gift at a reasonable amount. People can, especially if you can quantify it for them. So if you can say, look, if you're willing to give up one of your out to eat lunches, let's be honest, you can't even do that for $10. That's Chick-fil-A anymore. I saw a Chick-fil-A bag in here. Let's be honest. So let's just say, would you be willing to forfeit one of your lunches out a week? That's $15. That would be 30, 60. Okay, that's $60 a month. $60 a month times 12. Someone help me. Thank you. And that's quite a significant gift. But when you break it down for people and you offer them a recurring option for it, it feels a lot more doable. I mean, I've always remembered $83 and change equals $1,000 a month equals $1,000 gift. I can easily, in my mind, not freak out over $84. But if somebody says, and we need that $1,000 now, I'm like, whoa, that's a whole different world, right? So think about building the sustainable organization, and think about at least offering it as an example or as an option for donors. Like, really promote it this year. So on your page, which we'll talk about later, Courtney will talk about, consider making that a very obvious thing for people to choose. Look, the power of suggestion is real, y'all. How many times have you gone through McDonald's line and said, would you like fries with that? That you're like, yes. And if your ice cream machine works, I'd love a cone. So, you know, power of suggestion works. We have, I believe it's over 75% of people that we give people the option to pay the 3% credit card fee. And we have 5% credit card fee. Sorry, gracious, inflation. But 75% cover that. Are you kidding me? Because you know why? I give, my brother's a missionary. I give a certain amount a month. We give a certain amount a month as a family to my brother's group, nonprofit that supports him. I am not going to make him pay that fee. We're going to pay that fee. You know what I'm saying? Most people will recognize that that's not too much to ask for the work that's being done. Okay? Think about that, making that specific approach to that this year, feeling that sustainability. All right, 2, this is something that most of us all get, but I do want us to be cognizant of it within our organization. And so this is more of an internal organization opportunity. A lot of people understand how donors believe in and we as donors, we are giving to be part of that mission. We are not
low hanging fruit. I think a big ask. We're not an annual support, and we're not even a prospect. We're a donor. We're an investor. We're giving our limited resources out of all the choices out there. We're giving to your organization. And we're giving to be part of the organization. So I may work this many hours a week, have this commitment out of the office and this other thing, and I may not have the ability of time at this season of life to be able to volunteer or go do this, that, and the other for the mission. But I promise you, if I'm giving money, I'm part of that mission. And one can't escape the other. So we have to have even the people. So I just want us to, within our own organizations, really be cognizant of how we include. And so when we run into our donors, they're part of us. They are us. They're doing the work. A lot of times we mistakenly think they're just some wealthy tycoon. Most people that give are not the wealthy tycoon. They don't give the percentage that someone in middle level income that has a high interest, they're much more likely to give a much more generous, thoughtful gift. So they very much are part of the work, okay? So I ask us all, just for the sake of all philanthropy, to really be mindful of how we hear other people talking about donors. It's really, they're partners, they're investors, and they very much are doing the frontline work as well, because without the donations, there is no executive director salary or building or resources. Even if you're fortunate to have an entire organization run by volunteers, you have to have the resources to go do the things. Dogs have to eat, you know, you got to pay the trainer. You have to have a place to stay that's lovely, or at least warm and not wet. So, okay. So, let me tell you about this. This is a fun story about a donor relation story. So if you, and this goes to talk about planned giving, which I can think is it could also be immediate giving. It could be recurring giving. It doesn't matter. So we have a donor that wants to do some really good things through her after she passes through a fund. And she also has so she set that up, but she still receives coolers. She orders all her meat and whatnot online. She shop from home before shopping from home was cool. I'm gonna tell you, she was right up there with, you know, what is it? What is the thing? The online store? Yes, QVC. She has got all the places to go across America. She gets high quality or lower cost. She's told me all about it. But she gets these coolers, those white styrofoam, y'all seen them, coolers. And she was very upset because a well-known organization did not want to take her coolers. Well, I'm thinking in my head, they probably aren't seen as, quote, sterile enough to use for that purpose, but she was fit to be tied. So through my friend and colleague, Aaron Johnson, we figured out another place that would accept these coolers because they could use them to deliver medicines. It kept them cool. It wasn't something they were going to, you know, they were already prepackaged as well. So I go out once a quarter and I pick up these coolers and I visit with her, and I'm delighted to do it. She's lovely, but it means a lot to her to go in my minivan, stuff my back of my minivan, take a 45-minute trek around Columbia, deliver these coolers to this other organization, because I can't look at her and say they don't want. I mean, this group will actually use them. We're buds now, that group and I. They'll let me just drop them off. I don't have to go in, and they know it's from her. And that's a strange thing, but that fits her. So what I ask is that when you've got donors, that it means something to them to do this seemingly non-fixing thing, do the little extra. She's ended up adding an additional gift, unsolicited, of size. I'm just saying, people really appreciate those strange extras that seem a little odd, to others. Like, why are you spending your time that way? Well, this woman really worries about these coolers. And then in reality, how much time do we waste? If I'm going to take an hour once a quarter, it's really not that much. It's not a waste. It's actually a privilege. And she used to be a lot more, not gruffy, but, unhappy. She's delighted. That garage pops up when she sees me driving in the driveway, rolls on up. And anyway, so there's different ways to love on folks. If you don't mind popping to the next slide, just really quick, want to cover the difference when we're talking in terms of just Midlands Gives. We take care of the tax letter, as you know, so we take care of that obligation you've got to give, because the gifts come through the foundation and then we send the check over to, or the ACH transfer over to your organization. So we take that. Well, that's one of the lifts that we do at the foundation to make this work for everybody. It's one less thing. But I would echo what our friends from PAL say. I would try to do thank you notes. They could be even a thank you postcard. It doesn't even have to be super fancy. If you don't have the resources for the mailing, and I know that mailing is expensive, then consider a personalized email. Don't send in my opinion, don't send a large blast out. At least copy what you're going to do into a new email, paste, and put their name on it, and send it. And that's okay. That's okay. If that's what's in more of what you can afford, then do what you can afford. The phone calls are great too. And listening to what people want. So we've started collecting this information very intentionally now. We're on the front end. If people are becoming part of our fund holder family, we ask them right off the bat now, how do you like best to be communicated? Because let's be honest, all of us like something different and it could change, right? So we have a woman that is a widow who is just loves her dog, and her dog has separation anxiety, and then she lives very frugally. She has told us she does not want all this mail. She don't want to spend us spending our money on that stamp. And she certainly doesn't want any kind of gift. I mean, don't spend my money that way. So what we do is we call her and we tell her we're thinking about her. And if we occasionally might want to visit, she might work us in. She's very busy. But we're listening. Because if we send her a gift the following year, because we just think they're great gifties, she's going to be like, they don't listen to me. Not everybody wants a gift. A lot of people just want a phone call. But they'll tell you, I promise you. So again, with new donors, I would try to do a little extra. So if you have, I'll be honest with you, we stay late here. I know you're shocked. On the night of Midlands Gives, we kind of stay a little smidge later than normal. And I'm over there in my office. I get the morning crew, frankly, because I'm most comfortable knowing that nobody's actually watching at 6 a.m. and maybe a few of you loyal folks, but I feel a little bit better that maybe it's not the prime time. And I'm great with that. We're here late and I'm looking through myself, just kind of looking. And one time a year or two, I gave to this one organization and it was just an entry level gift kind of thing, but I like their mission. I was like, I'll give to that. I got the nicest note. I was like, man, it just meant something. And I've told several people about this organization, even though I had no other connection except I was just going through the database. Reality is a lot of people just go into the database and they might find you. And if you remember that nice little note, it does make a difference and it's worth the stamp. Okay. Final thing I want to touch on again, and I have touched on it a little bit, but really most donors want to feel part of the work. But the reality is not everyone's gift is their time. They don't have it to give. And they don't have the talent in that area. And what they can give is their treasure. Okay. They're really good about making widgets. They've been blessed beyond measure in making widgets, and they're good at it. And they've got extra resources. Well, they could give it to anything or keep it. Just pay taxes, you'll end up with more. But if you're philanthropic, you want to give it away and they're choosing you, they want to know what that money's done. So it's part of the work. I mean, for instance, if I have a heart for this area, ABC, World Challenge. If I'm given to ABC World Challenge, it doesn't mean that I'm comfortable going to help with that because I may feel like, oh, I don't have the talent they need, or that's not my gift. But I promise you, if I care enough to give to ABC Challenge, I'm in the trenches with ABC Challenge employees, in my view. So the more we can make our donors feel appreciated as if they're investors, because that's really what they are, the better. And the more fulfilled we'll feel because we'll have that connection with them. So I want to highlight another great thing in the strategy workbook on page, I believe it's 25 and 26. Got sample thank you language. Just double check myself here. I know that 26 has got some. Yes, so look at 25 and 26, maybe make a note. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. We've got language, thanks to this finding community investment team. Okay, I'm going to turn it over now to Courtney.
Michelle. So let's talk about the importance of your Midlands Gives profile. So I would like to start with the reminder again that you've heard us all say March 31st is your deadline to really make any changes and update your profile. Please take a final look at your profiles, including updating the contact information, those phone numbers that might be linked to a volunteer. You want to make sure those are active. Web addresses, Facebook pages, whatever communication you have on there as far as your contact information, please make sure that that's updated. Any changes before the 31st. Along with that, reviewing your profile page, making sure that you have a short and clear mission. So again, there are many organizations participating in Midlands Gives. Our Midlands Gives website receives so many hits per month, especially around that time, but also throughout the year. And so really, if you have someone new, like Michelle said, she even had an opportunity to look for an organization, didn't know much about them, but there was enough information provided that she knew it was something she wanted to support. So a good way to think about that is not only is the information accurate and up to date, but really capturing your audience. If they are looking through at all the opportunities that they have, really telling about your organization. What does it do? How will that money be used? So again, really wanting to stress the importance of taking a look at your profile, making sure everything is updated, clear and concise overview of what you do. On top of that, I believe our minimum donation amount is $10 this year. So it has been helpful if you might want to tell a story or how your $10 could be impacted. So that a donor might not think, oh, I have to be $100 donor or $1,000 donor to make an impact. If you share what that $10 could do, that may open the door for them to see, oh, well, maybe I can do $20 and make double the impact. So I think it's important, sharing what the donation could do for them. I will also say that there are donors, whether it's fund holders or community individuals, that often do look at these web pages. We will go through on occasions with every single web page with donors as they look to see if they may want to support your organization. So again, just really telling your story so that any donor, whether they're internal or in the community, that they know what you do and how their funds could be used.
Courtney, so you mean that sometimes they're really long and people couldn't possibly read through all of it? Tell me more.
Absolutely. So one thing that I notice with those as I'm looking through too is really, your mission. That's great. What you would do with the funds. That's also wonderful. And there are many organizations that do a great job of summarizing what your organization does to someone who is outside of the industry, who doesn't know XYZ, everything about what you're doing. But you really do want to capture the attention on that day. And so again, just looking over everything. Testimonials are great, but if they're scrolling, I would leave those towards the end, really get them at the beginning, putting all those details. And again, that I find value in that. What would the $10 do? What would $20 do for your organization? Again, these websites are up. Midlands Gives is up year round. We often get calls throughout the year. I directed someone to it just a couple weeks ago that didn't know what they wanted to support. I said, well, when you're ready to meet and talk about that, wonderful. Here's a starting point. So you can easily filter based on the work that each organization is doing. So again, a lot of traffic there. Some we never hear about. They just know to go there. Midlands Gives has grown over the years. And so again, a lot of importance on updating that information, having everything in, on the back end, if we're seeking a little clarification, there's typically a reason for that. But just one final good overview before that March 31st deadline, or even before that. So if you have questions, we have time to respond and guide you in the best way.
Just a question. This money is C3 monies, correct? It's for educating and helping. And I'm wondering, if I'm gonna have to rethink this question before I ask it, okay? Because you were talking about staff, and there are rules about you can't pay staff. So some of those. No, I'm just saying, so the monies that we earn can pay for staff?
It's basically money that come from this can pay for anything that has a charitable purpose.
Okay,
I was saying that when you raise money in general, sometimes when you apply for a grant, it's for a specific program, and that sometimes might be easier, or there's more out there to see, and that sometimes certain entities, there's just not available money for salaries, if you will. It's just
I
sometimes
know a lot of grants don't
operational.
do that. right.
Yes, no, this money is completely able to, as long as your organization is which we've already vet, 501c3 organization has a charitable purpose, this can feed into that charitable purpose, 100%.
Now, if you put on your profile, this money raised today for Midlands Gives is exclusively going to X program, then it's best practice to put that money towards that program.
Yeah,
But technically, we are
We
not.
specifically say our money is used for a scholarship fund for our services.
Okay, so then
we
that
put
money
it
would need to
specifically
go
into
into
that.
that. Yeah, but you could also put on your profile instead, $20 could pay for
Yeah.
this project, or $100 could pay for this, not necessarily tying you to that, but kind of quantifying what the work you're doing is. But we aren't making sure that money goes towards, a certain program or anything.
And our rules just require you to give it toward a charitable purpose.
Right.
We don't choose one charitable favor one over another.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't my question, but thanks.
Okay, we can talk afterwards too.
Okay, cool. So just to kind of wrap up and touch on one last thing, as we're all here together as true development people, we had to kind of touch on how we support nonprofits kind of in our role, because most of the nonprofits know Aaron and the community impact team through competitive grants and different outreach they do. But kind of on the advancement side, how we support our nonprofit partners is through our nonprofit funds. And so these help nonprofits where we can hold the money and invest them with our finance team in our bigger pool of funds with Vanguard. And because we have all these funds pooled together, we have a much lower fee compared to, if you just went off the street to Vanguard and asked for kind of a fee. And those funds start at $50,000. And with kind of an additional to the financial benefits, you also get access to Michelle and Joanne, and they can come in and kind of talk through things and those sorts of things and be involved with your board if you need a board training and help in those different things. And it also can help reduce administrative burden for staff and board if you have a smaller staff or need to focus on a different thing during that time period. And then you'll go to the next slide. We offer kind of two different bands. One is an endowed option, which we see people do for longevity. You know, if you have board turnover every year, every 3 years, and that just protects the principal, but still gives you a spendable to kind of start new projects or know that you have this ongoing income forever that will continue to grow. We also have a non-endowed option, which we work with nonprofits usually for a capital project, or if you need a new building or something like that. We see nonprofits come in and really want to utilize that so that it's managed in our financials, but that you can kind of build a specific pot and keep it separate from your other financials. So that was just a really quick run through of that fund option. And if people have questions, it's a hectic time of year with Midlands Gifts, but we can always answer questions or talk through any kind of options or opportunities with that. But I think that was
Quick, is this a grant?
no, it's a fund. Just since PALS is right here, PALS would take $50,000 of their funds, put it in a fund at the community foundation, and we would invest it with our other funds, and they could, if it was non-endowed, have access to take money out of their fund at any time. And of course, the goal is for that to grow with investments. Yeah. Are there any other questions about anything we've talked about today?
I actually had a question that I thought maybe y'all could elaborate on or maybe give some strategies for is engaging your board, because hopefully your board are some of your biggest donors. So if there's anything that y'all might suggest of how the board can get engaged with Midlands Gives, maybe some things that you've seen over the years.
Well, I do think that if you're serving on the board, I think there's an expectation that you are to be asked to do things. I don't think people are coming to the board expecting not to have that happen. So I think it's an opportunity to, here's what I would say to my board. And I think that you have to, and I've been involved in several boards over my tenure. I think it's very difficult to ask others for money unless you have given. Additionally, I find it hard to ask for a certain amount unless you've personally given what? That certain amount. I can guarantee you it's easier and you feel a twinge of guilt to ask for the lower amount. So I would encourage with regards to the board is to really just to say, here is an opportunity to join with us in giving, establishing a challenge, a match amount to provide an incentive to the public who isn't already excited about giving to something where they feel like they're going to get double their money, and they are. There's an organization I give to every year, even though I'm a monthly giver. I see there's a match out there, and I'm like, all right. I mean, I know how it all works, and I still give toward the match. Okay. So with this particular thing, I think it's an opportunity to invite the board to come alongside and make a gift above and beyond what they normally give to create a collective match that can be an incentive for the public to walk alongside you, attracting new donors and an incentive for those current donors. So that's one thing. Second thing is I would invite the board to do some of this hand-to-hand phone call situation of people they choose from the list. I do think it's a lot more effective to say, here's our list of 50 people that typically give during Midlands Gives, or 50 people that give to an organization that maybe haven't yet given to Midlands Gives, and invite them to select up to 10. We don't want to burden you, but would you take up to 10? Do you have windshield time this week? Maybe you could make a few calls on the way home. This might brighten your day. You might even just leave a message. Let's be honest, no one picks up anymore. 2 out of 3, you'll just leave a message.
Right.
They don't
And-
pick up, they're not answering.
That's right. And give them the out, like where you say, listen, we're asking you to leave a message, and even just tell them, you don't have to call me back. I know you've gotten this message. Just remember us. And then, so I think I would invite them those 2 ways. So if the board hasn't given individually to establish a match, so if there's a person every year that's going to give you an amount, go ahead and ask that person separately. Let's don't leave money on the table or not allow them the opportunity to feel good about giving that contribution. Okay, make sure they know you appreciate that and that you would like it again. But if your board has not come alongside and establishing a match, one approach is that we're not asking for a specific amount. We have a suggested amount. You can say, we'd like you to consider between 1 and 300. We'd like you to consider 50 to 100, whatever the amount is for your extra, to collectively create a board match. Pop it up there. And then they're invested in it. And then 2, trying to see the ones that are willing to make the calls or to pop emails, as long as they're personal, whatever they're willing to do. Because let's be honest, the more of us who get involved in something in our life, the more likely we're then to give to it, the more likely we are to call it ours. And to, like what you were saying about the employees, they started as volunteers, they're employees now, they're donors now, they are in the fabric of that organization. They believe in PALS, and it's more than just watching the cute videos.
Right.
You know, they are invested. So we're talking about humans here that are distracted. Okay, we're all distracted. It's a miracle you're all here today, here online. You're all distracted. Okay, so working within that realm, tiny requests. That's what I would suggest. Anybody else got something?
Yeah, about 1 more minute. And then we can also take more calls after or comments after.
I'm gonna say this. I think the real opportunity with Midlands Gives is attracting new donors and engaging the ones you have and engaging your board in something that's tangible that they're not having to do the daily on. We're providing the receipts. Hey, we're doing the, we're gonna send the money over. This is just get it out. The other thing with the board is tell them to copy and paste their stuff into social media. Create one little visual, pop it out. Use the stuff that's coming out that we've got. Like it, send it on, retweet it, whatever it. That is not asking too much, but I would ask them to do it early in the day, or I'd ask them to do it April 1st, like be specific. April 1st, April 15th, the day before Midlands Gives May 1st. And then, you know, whatever it is, be specific and then spoon feed it. Don't expect them to remember all the things, because again, we're distracted. Does anybody else in the audience have something that's worked really well with your board? I think you've got great ideas. You want here, hold on a second, let me give this to you.
We actually, it doesn't hurt to get together with other nonprofits. I don't think, I think it's more beneficial. And so we got together with one and kind of talked strategy, and they gave us an idea that we're going to implement when it comes to the board. And it kind of works if you have a wealthier board and they, you know, have wealthy friends and family. But being specific, and we're doing kind of a campaign where it's 2 for 2. So challenging the board to ask 2 people, 2 friends, 2 families, somebody in their circle to donate 2,000. So that's something we're going to try, and it's so specific that hopefully it's met. And yeah.
And you can scale that. So it could be 2 for 20, 2 for 200. More than 2 for 2. Let's go above that. Okay. Wait, let me give you this.
That'd be at least 10.
2 for 10. 2 for 10.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for putting on today. My name is Kadena Javis, and I have a nonprofit, FBLA Junior, which I was a part of when I was growing up. So they allowed me to use their tagline. But I also serve on the Hayward Educational Foundation, and one of our board members donated a a 1990 Cadillac. We had a raffle and we raised $12,000. So that's another thing, not always having just money, asking for, he had an antique just sitting in his garage and he donated it to the foundation. So our bank account now, we are so happy, because this is the biggest donation we've had since inception, 2014 at the Career Center for Richland 1. So that's something I just wanted to share too.
And a child of I came of age in the 90s. That makes me feel good. I don't know about being classic, but oh, okay.
Out of Savannah, Georgia.
So thinking creatively on it, I think these are great ideas. What, is there anybody else that's got something? These are fun. Well, I do think talking to we're all in the business of lifting up philanthropy in one way or the other, right? I really don't, one thing that's great about this line of work is that it's really not as much in competition with one another. We're really trying to help increase the pie of donors. And I say this over and over again, donating and giving money away is a heart issue in my view. So allowing people the opportunity to feel the joy of giving it away is a privilege. And I think with the board, helping them see the opportunity to help release people from holding the money is and how much joy they will get in return is a privilege. And I think helping people understand that is good, because I think people think, oh, they'll think I'm asking for it. No, you're not. You might be asking, but you're not asking for yourself. You're asking for a very worthy cause, and you're not making them to give. So it is a privilege to help free people from the bondage of too much. I mean, I don't mean it like that as like as a funny thing or whatever, but it truly, people feel more joy giving it away. And if they don't experience in that, that's more harmful. So this is a gift you're giving them. You're not asking for go in your bank account. If that's the case, we got a whole different issue, but that's not the case. So we're asking people to give to very worthwhile things, but we're also giving them a joyous opportunity. So that's what I think. All right. Are y'all excited? All right.
Thank you so much to our advancement team. Thank y'all so much for coming out. Erin, did you want to say anything before we
I just have a
leave?
quick follow-up from, I believe, 2 trainings ago. We said we would get back in touch with y'all about donor emails that we're sending out on Midlands Gives Day. So we just confirmed with our software folks that at 5 o'clock on Midlands Gives Day, anyone who gave to your organization last year but had not yet given by 5 o'clock, they will get an automatic email from the system that says, hey, just wanted to remind you that, Midlands Gives Day is almost over. And if you would like, here's who you gave to last year, click this button and it can repeat your donation. So that automatically will go out. And last year that resulted in over 50,000 worth of gifts. So we're doing that. New this year, we're also going to go back one additional year. So anyone who gave 2 years ago did not give last year, we're going to say, hey, you know what, during that pandemic, remember how giving it was and how important it was? We just want to make sure that you have that opportunity to give again if you'd like. That's something that we're going to pilot this year. They did it this year in New Orleans for NOLA Gives and had some good results from that. So we're going to pilot that this year. So both give a donor who lapsed for 1 year, we're going to give an email, as well as last year's. But if they've already given, they won't get anything. So we won't bother them. But wanted y'all to know, because I told you I would confirm that was going to happen. That'll be at 5 o'clock. So just be mindful of that when you're planning your emails as well, to try and maybe not to overlap too much with that, so they don't feel kind of overwhelmed. Yeah.
All righty. Yeah. Thank y'all so much for coming. May 2nd is the big day, but April 1st is whenever early giving starts. So that's whenever you can start telling people to give. So yeah, use our website, midlandsgives.org.
On 31st, get our team one more look.
That's right. Yeah. Look over your profile before the end of the month. Chantrell over here, she's our Midlands Gives guru. So if you have questions, she's usually the one that will be responding. So, and we can stay a little bit longer for some more questions and chat as well. So, but thank y'all so much. Thank you to everyone. Back there, thank you to everyone who joined us virtually as well. Midlands Gives at yourfoundation.org is if you have any questions that you want to email Chanterelle. So, thank y'all.
Thank y'all.